People always called Liam quiet. That word made it sound like he just faded into the background, soft edges and no opinions. Not true, never had been. If you got him going on laminated dough, he could lecture you straight through to closing time, and you'd learn a little something about the soul of a croissant. Same with fantasy novels, weird little tea blends, how brown butter was absolute magic, or why it makes zero sense to build a Gothic cathedral with flying buttresses if you aren't actually serious about the flying. Liam didn't lack for words or thoughts, he just found it hard to waste them on people who didn't care. He'd known early on what kind of quiet he was, and it wasn't the cool, mysterious kind, more like the transparent, ignorable kind. His silence filled the gaps when no one thought to ask him along, when friends cut him out of group chats or turned on the charm only when teachers or strangers were around. He got used to eating alone, telling himself he preferred it, because what was the alternative? Begging to be wanted? Painful to admit how much it stung, but he told himself over and over that his own company was enough. Most days he almost believed it. High school laughed in his face. He decided to try again anyway. Optimism is a funny thing when you're desperate for a win. For a second, he thought he'd found his people. The smart ones, the art kids, the future weirdos. It felt almost good, being looped into plans, group texts lighting up his phone, like maybe he was finally wanted. Real belonging, or close enough to fake it. But after a year or so, the truth was hard to ignore. The group liked him there because he was helpful, because he kept the peace, because he could roll with a joke at his expense. He was comfortable, not chosen, useful, not loved. Relationships, if you could even call them that, were another wild ride. His first boyfriend, if you wanted to be generous, was a beta who liked the idea of dating a male Omega, not actually Liam as a person. Then came an alpha in culinary school. Praise and possessiveness, sneaky put-downs, a hand on his wrist like a cage, endless variations on "you're too sensitive." After that, Liam just stopped trying so hard. The daily swarm of bullies at school, sly or blatant, made the decision easier. What really twisted the knife? When Liam presented as Omega at 17, that was a special brand of awkward. He remembered sitting on the cool tile floor, locked in the bathroom, dizzy and scared because everything felt wrong, his mom frantic outside the door. The doctor was kind but direct. Here's what to do, here's what to take, here's how to handle it. Suddenly, Liam had to think about blockers and routines and safety in ways he never wanted. The way people looked at him changed. Not loud, not obvious. Most people didn't know officially. But secrets had a way of leaking, rumors, side-eyes, snickers behind his back. It didn't take long before he wasn't just the bookish, odd kid. Now he was the weird male Omega, which, in the wrong hands, meant a whole lot of trouble. His mom, she did what she could. Raised him solo, worked herself raw to keep them going, patched up other people's disasters in an ER that chewed up greenhorns for breakfast. She was the kind of hero he believed in. Survival through grit, love expressed in clean laundry and takeout, looks that said, "You're safe, somehow." She was busy as hell, tired more often than not, but Liam never blamed her. He admired her, loved her, and knew deep down he'd never have made it without her stubbornness. Still, he wasn't like her. Where she fought, Liam retreated. She burned bright. He flickered around the edges and kept his head down. He could be sharp as hell if he wanted, slice through arguments with a phrase, but he'd learned it just wasn't worth it. Most people didn't want to understand him, so he stopped giving them a shot. Instead, he built his own small world. Routines, hobbies, a space he could control. He made his afternoons into sanctuaries, a battered armchair, a stack of books, half-written stories he'd never show anyone. Game miniatures painted with a brush so fine it felt like sketching dreams onto dust. Late-night baking experiments, coaxing order out of flour and butter when his head refused to shut up. And honestly, he wasn't just good at baking, he was exceptional. It was baking that finally landed him somewhere that felt a little like home. After high school, plus a few detours through community college and one doomed flirtation with following his passion into something else, he ended up at a sliver of a bakery in Lower Manhattan. Mr. Joe, the owner, had a craftsman's eye, the patience of a stray cat, and a habit of adopting lost souls who could meet his ridiculous pastry standards. Liam fit right in. The bakery was long and narrow, sunlight stretching across the display case. the air humming with butter and yeast and roasted tea. Croissants shattered right, danishes vanished by lunchtime, and the regulars stayed as much for the rhythm of the place as they did for the food. If you came enough, Mr. Joe knew your name, your coffee order, your dog's allergies, and whether your kid's soccer team was winning. Liam never exactly planned to become essential there. It just happened. He started as an apprentice, survived culinary school, and returned after every detour because nowhere else felt as true. At some point, Mr. Joe began introducing him as my favorite person, which made Liam want to melt into the floor while the customers grinned. Mr. Joe's son, though, that was a different story. Jun Joe had the vibe of someone who lived in a sharper, pricier universe. Investment job, expensive suits, penthouse somewhere out beyond the clouds. He showed up maybe twice a year, argued in rapid-fire Mandarin with his father, handed off a box of rare tea, gave Liam a look he couldn't interpret, and was gone before anyone could ask anything personal. The few certainties. Mr. Joe adored him, but also kind of wanted to strangle him. June oozed control, and Liam, for reasons he couldn't put his finger on, instinctively disliked him. Maybe it was the confidence. Maybe it was the way June never seemed uncertain about where he belonged. Outside of the bakery, Liam's world stayed small, on purpose. He did his living between 4 points on the map: home, the shop, the bookstore down the block, the hobby store near Canal, grocery delivery whenever possible, because standing in a supermarket aisle made his skin itch. His apartment, a little one-bedroom that ate almost every cent of his savings, still felt like a lottery win. His mother teased him about it every time she visited, pride hidden behind jokes. As for friends, there was exactly one, Priya, a culinary school kindred spirit, now off conquering the high-end restaurant world. They texted everything, memes, gripes, last-minute recipes, and called in the dead of night, swapping stories that never made it to Instagram. It worked for both of them. And, well, the cat. A ragged white stray with a torn ear and the attitude of a fallen king, Meringue camped near the alley between the bakery and Liam's home. Liam fed him, bribed him with scraps, occasionally earned a slow blink of approval when the cat felt generous. That was life. Tight, consistent, a little lonely, but mostly peaceful, just the way Liam liked it, until the quiet started to crack, as if the universe had finally gotten bored and decided change was overdue. It started on a Thursday morning at the tail end of October, the kind where you step outside and all you can taste is cold metal and the leftover smoke from 1,000 burned-out fireplaces. You know the kind, the streets echo a little more, and every surface feels harder somehow, even before sunrise. Liam was exactly where he always was at that hour, hidden away behind the bakery, arms deep in flour, wrestling with dough that refused to cooperate. He'd just finished folding the latest batch when he heard shouting. Out front, shouted arguments weren't exactly rare there. Sometimes customers fought over the last almond croissant. A delivery guy once got dramatic because they ran out of parking. Even Mr. Zoe, the owner, had this superpower. One unimpressed stare, and he could send grown men to the back of the line, apologizing under their breath. But today, something changed. That noise, the sound of something heavy hitting the glass, was new. It made the hair stand up on the back of Liam's neck. He froze, hands white with flour. For a second, the whole place went silent. Then Mr. Joe's voice crashed through the quiet, sharp and angry in Mandarin, a tone that spelled genuine trouble, the kind he'd only heard a handful of times before. So, Liam stripped off his apron, wiped his hands on his jeans, and headed out to the front. There they were, 2 guys dressed in dark coats, probably expensive but horribly cut, the kind of guys with too much money and no taste, shoulders broad enough to block the light. One of them dangled a baseball bat in his right hand, like he'd forgotten it wasn't a bouquet of flowers. The bakery's front display, thick glass, totally solid, now had a spiderweb crack glaring across one corner. Mr. Joe stood tall and defiant behind the counter, his eyes like chips of steel. Liam didn't hesitate. He'd worked in customer service too long to doubt his instincts. Sir," he said, calm like he'd said it 1,000 times before. "You need to leave." The man with the bat spun around. His smile was sharp and ugly enough that Liam felt it in his bones. "And who the hell are you?" "Someone asking you politely to go." No reaction from Mr. Joe, but Liam could feel his eyes burning. "Liam," Mr. Joe said through gritted teeth, "go to the back." He didn't move. "No." That got everyone's attention. Now both strangers looked at him, but their amusement was obvious. The guy with the bat grinned wider, like he'd just discovered a puppy yipping at his heels. "This doesn't concern you, sweetheart," Bat Guy sneered. Liam ground his teeth at the word sweetheart, almost as much as he hated that shift in the room's scent, like the air snapped with something predatory. Not attraction, more like a hunt. He remembered that smell from teenage years he'd rather forget. "Then why are you making it my problem?" Liam shot back. The man without the bat stepped closer to the counter. "We're delivering a message," he said. Liam kept his voice steady. "To who?" Mr. Joe's face went blank, the kind of blank that meant he was building a wall you'd break your knuckles on before you got through. "Just a little reminder that old debts don't stay buried," the second man said, grin spreading. Something icy settled in Liam's gut. He didn't know the details, but he'd grown up reading between the lines of threats. This was one, not about pastries or missed payments on flour. "Fine," Liam said. "You delivered it. Leave." Bat Guy laughed and started tapping the bat against his palm. Things were about to break. Everyone could feel it. And then everything happened at once. Mr. Joe moved, faster than anyone should at 70-something, and reached under the register. Liam braced for a weapon, but all that came up was a cell phone. For half a heartbeat, he wondered who Mr. Joe would call. No time for answers. Bat Guy lunged over the counter. The register crashed to the floor. Mr. Joe yelled. Instinct took over. Liam didn't think, just reached for the nearest solid object, a battered metal tray, and swung it at the nearest shoulder. He heard something pop. Bat Guy howled. The other guy started towards him, and without pausing, Liam grabbed a ceramic coffee mug and threw it as hard as he could, straight at the man's face. It shattered. Someone screamed. Then the front door chimed, a sound so absurd it would stick in Liam's memory for days after. 3 new men walked in, all business suits and silent menace, not 1 ounce of fear in the way they moved. One already had a gun out, low and almost gentle at his side. Another immediately grabbed Bat Guy by the throat and slammed him into the wall, hard enough for the menu to fall off with a crash. The tension in the room didn't break. It just shifted like the decision had already been made by someone else and everyone was about to find out what it was. Jun Joe stepped inside last. No suit, just a black wool coat and gloves, his expression hard and chill, like the river in January, the brittle calm that hides what's underneath. He took in the carnage, cracked glass, broken register, blood, Liam standing with a metal tray still clutched in one hand, and, finally, his father, steady as ever behind the counter. For a long second, Jun just looked at Liam. Some kind of understanding flickered between them, unspoken but sharp as a razor. And then Jun said, voice flat, "No one told me my father hired a feral Omega with a death wish." Suddenly, Liam's hands wouldn't stop shaking. Adrenaline, he told himself. That bright, crashing wave that only hit after things were over and done. He hated that Jun noticed. Mr. Joe came around the counter, spat something at his son in Mandarin, and smacked the back of his head harder than any 70-year-old should. Then he gripped Liam's shoulders, searching for damage. "You're bleeding." Liam looked down. His sleeve was torn, blood trickling from a new cut on his forearm. He hadn't even felt it. Jun's gaze dropped to the blood on Liam's arm, and for maybe half a second, everything in his face changed. Just a flicker. Most people would have missed it. But Liam had spent his life reading people, spotting the split second when moods turned dangerous. Jun's whole posture went taut, like a string stretched past its limit. One of the suited men said something low to Jun in Mandarin. Jun's reply was cold and distracted. "Get them out." Liam watched, heart pounding, as the attackers were dragged from the bakery, one cursing, one whimpering, neither a problem for Jun's people. Then the door closed and the sudden, oppressive quiet felt deafening. Mr. Joe and his son circled each other in Mandarin, trading words sharp enough to cut, and honestly, Liam regretted not learning more of the language. Eventually, Jun switched to English, clipped and precise. I said you shouldn't stay unprotected, he barked. Mr. Joe fired back. This is my bakery. I do not run. This isn't someone posturing, Dad, Jun snapped. Liam's patience broke through. What is it then? He said, ignoring his own trembling hands. Both men stared at him like he'd grown a second head. Mr. Joe's sigh sounded so tired Liam felt it in his bones. He should know, Mr. Joe said. He should not, Jun countered, but Mr. Joe shook his head. He almost got brained with a bat in my shop because of us. He deserves to know. Mr. Joe gently steered Liam into a chair, clucking when Liam nearly wobbled to the floor. Jun just stood there, an immovable pillar in the chaos. My son, Mr. Joe said wryly, is not in investments. Liam rolled his eyes. No kidding. Jun shot him a look. Sarcasm is brave for someone in shock. It's all I've got, Liam said, giving Jun a pointed look right back. A thin ghost of a smile played around Mr. Joe's mouth, but he sobered up immediately. I lived another life before this place. I put it away years ago. My son inherited parts of it. Everything clicked, all the little things about Jun, his bodyguards, the chill in his voice, the way grown men deferred to him without question. Liam stared, feeling a kind of wild laughter building just under his ribs. So, he said slowly, the bakery is a front for the Mafia. Jun winced. It's complicated. Mr. Joe just sighed, heavy and abrupt. Yes. Liam wanted to laugh then, because if he didn't, he might just break. He thought about all those quiet mornings, those stupid little routines he clung to. He never saw this coming, not even close. The kind old man who'd taught him how to judge proof dough by scent, and Jun with his sharp suits and sharper eyes, all of it fit now in the worst possible way. He took a shaky breath. Okay. Suddenly, Jun was crouching in front of him, that impossible predatory stillness barely hiding raw energy. He shouldn't have seemed gentle kneeling like that. He did anyway. Look at me, Jun said, dark eyes still and intense. Liam looked up before he could think better of it, answering the command because some part of him always did. Jun's voice was a low rumble. Are you dizzy? Yes. Nauseous? A little. Can you breathe? The question caught him off guard. Why are you... Jun's hand started to reach out, almost as if he meant to check his pulse at Liam's throat. He stopped himself, but Liam's skin still tingled. All at once there was a wave of scent. Alpha, pure and clear as gunmetal. Cedar, winter spice, something darker he couldn't name but couldn't forget. It should have made him scared, that rush of strength, but instead it made his pulse jump and his thoughts scatter. Yeah, Jun noticed, his face iced over again. I'll call a doctor, he said. I need stitches, not an ambulance. You're getting both medical care and stitches. Not at Manhattan ER prices, Liam grumbled. I'm not bankrupting myself just because your family has a criminal empire. Jun's mouth quirked, grim but amused. My family pays. Mr. Joe snorted a laugh, tension finally breaking for half a second. Jun pinched his eyes closed, took a slow breath, probably counting to 10. You defended my father. I defended my boss, Liam shot back, even though they both knew it wasn't that simple. With a serving tray. It was within reach. And suddenly, under the tension, a crack in Jun's composure, just the edge of a smile, appeared and disappeared almost before Liam could catch it. Jun got to his feet, pulled out his phone, and started barking orders. 10 minutes later, a doctor, the kind that never files insurance paperwork, showed up, sewed Liam's arm, checked his head, and declared him mostly lucky, but warned that the adrenaline drop would feel worse before it eased. All Liam wanted was to crawl home and pretend this hadn't happened. Mr. Joe insisted he be driven home by Jun's people. Jun looked tempted to assign him a 24/7 security detail, maybe wrap him in bubble wrap for good measure. In the end, Liam accepted a ride because his arm ached and the world was spinning just enough to make everything feel unreal. He told himself it was over, just one bad morning, but even before the bakery faded into the distance, he knew nothing would be normal again. By evening, he knew he wasn't imagining things anymore. The threat was real, and it had taken shape. Two men stationed outside his building. They weren't being loud or anything, but they made no effort to blend in either. The kind of security you notice the second your rideshare pulls away and you get a knot in your stomach. One leaned easy against a black SUV like he was on break, but glanced up the second Liam stopped on the sidewalk. His partner loitered by the front door, pretending to look anywhere but directly at him. Liam froze. This was not his normal commute home, not by a long shot. The one at the entrance straightened up. "Mr. Hale." Liam nearly turned around and walked the other way. "Oh no, we're assigned to your protection." "By who exactly?" His voice came out sharper than intended. "Mr. Joe." "Which one?" The Joe family was kind of a dynasty, and every answer sounded like a threat in this context. The man said, "Yes." It didn't answer him. If anything, it made everything feel more ominous. "I don't need protection," Liam snapped, even though his heart was hammering in his chest. "With respect, sir, you probably do." "Did he just call me sir?" "Did you just call me sir?" Liam muttered, pinching the bridge of his nose. If the bodyguard found that funny, he didn't show it. His face stayed blank, not even a flicker of emotion. Cold, professional, perfectly neutral. Liam hated every second of it. He bolted upstairs, jammed the lock, dumped curry and painkillers into his exhausted body, and unleashed a barrage of texts at Priya. "You will not believe this," sent 3 times in case the universe wasn't paying attention. But nothing made reality feel less surreal. He curled up on his couch, hoodie pulled over his head, and tried to wrap his mind around the insane fact that, out of nowhere, the criminal underworld had spilled directly into his carefully managed, peaceful little life. He hadn't even been consulted. Then, at 9:30, a knock shattered the fragile calm. 10 seconds ticked by, 10 slow, panicked seconds. Finally, Liam crept to the peephole. Jun Joe, alone, calm as ever, standing quietly in the hallway. Liam considered hiding, maybe playing dead. Instead, he cracked the door just wide enough for a conversation and asked, "Are Mafia bosses in the habit of making house calls?" Jun looked down at the chain lock, then calmly up at him. "You look pale." "And you look like the reason," Liam snapped back. "I came to speak with you." "You already did that," Liam muttered, voice dry as sand. Jun's answer was a slow, deliberate inhale. "May I come in?" "No." Simple, definite. Jun didn't argue. "Reasonable." Liam almost slammed the door, but then he caught that scent again, muted, different away from the bakery, but just as confusing and sharp and deeply problematic. The air between them pulsed with barely contained electricity. Whatever it was, Liam's instincts leaned in, which only made him grit his teeth harder. Jun's eyes narrowed slightly. He saw it, whatever it was. "You feel it too." Liam stiffened, all his muscles going tense. "I feel," he said carefully, "that I'd like you to leave." Jun didn't budge. "Mr. Hale." "Liam." God, enough with formality. A little twitch of Jun's mouth, almost a smile. "Liam, there's a reason I came myself tonight." "Great." Liam's sarcasm was all he had left. "This gets better by the minute." "You're in danger." "Pretty sure the guys with the bat this morning made that obvious." Jun's face stayed serious. "You're also in danger from me." That shut Liam up. He hadn't been expecting honesty, or at least bluntness. Jun looked like a myth pressed into a human body. One hand gloved, a predatory stillness about him. He was beautiful, but not in a sweet, easy way. More like the kind of beauty you learn to keep your distance from. The kind that used to end up in stories, half prince, half wolf. Liam had never liked beautiful alphas on principle. His body, annoyingly, disagreed. "What does that mean?" he asked, uncertain. "I think," Jun said, voice like a knife edge, "that you may be my fated mate." Silence crashed down like a wave. Liam blinked, hard, once, twice, and then he laughed, not because it was funny, because the only thing left was nerves, and if he didn't laugh, he might start screaming. "Absolutely not," he said. Jun didn't even blink. "I understand your reaction." No, I don't think you do. My reaction is that this is ridiculous." Jun only tilted his head. You reacted to my scent at the bakery. I reacted to almost getting murdered while shopping for croissants, Liam shot back. And you're reacting right now, Jun countered quietly. Liam's grip on the door white-knuckled. That doesn't mean fate has anything to do with it. Jun's eyes flicked to Liam's throat, just for a split second. No, but the fact that I almost lost control when I smelled your blood does. A line of cold ran up Liam's spine. Stuff like that, alpha instincts to blood and mates, was supposed to be abstract, textbook biology, not something that exploded into real life. People joked about it nervously, studied it with detachment, and did their best never to deal with it firsthand. Suppressants and social norms were supposed to keep everything neat. Then there was Jun Joe, balancing on the knife edge of control. You almost lost control, Liam repeated. Yes? Why are you telling me? He wanted out of the conversation, but morbid curiosity kept him pegged in place. Because you deserve honesty. Jun's focus intensified. And if this is real, hiding it from you would be dangerous. Liam pressed his forehead to the edge of the door and laughed, weakly this time. This is ridiculous. Yes, you're a Mafia boss. A simplification, Jun said, tone dry. But yes. Your father owns the bakery I work at. Yes. Men attacked the shop. Yes. And now you're standing here telling me we might be fated mates. Yes. Liam closed his eyes. I hate this city. Jun didn't say anything at first. Then, almost gently, you're handling it better than I did. Liam cracked his eyes open, caught the hint of strain on Jun's otherwise polished mask. For the first time, Jun didn't seem quite so untouchable, just a little human under the pressure. How did you take it? His curiosity tripped him up. A muscle worked in Jun's jaw. Poorly, he admitted. That's specific, Liam said evenly. I left the bakery before I broke the man who cut you. A prickling chill washed through Liam. He went cold all over. He's alive, Jun added, catching the look on his face. Not sure that's reassuring. That wasn't the point. There it was again. This impossible duality in Jun. He was dangerous in that way you just know, the kind of certainty you feel deep down, like recognizing the moment sugar changes in the pan by smell alone, needing no proof. But also right now, Jun felt real, alive, annoyed that life had carved him into a shape he couldn't fully contain. Liam kinda hated how compelling he found it. So what happens now? He asked because he honestly needed to know. Jun waited a beat. I'll increase security for you in the bakery. I'll find out who sent the attackers. I won't let it happen again. And what about this, us, being mates? Liam forced himself to ask. Jun's stare sharpened, eyes unreadable. That's up to you. Liam almost lied, almost told Jun to disappear. It would have been safer. The smart thing. He'd built his life around smart, safe choices. Instead, he said, I want answers. Jun nodded. Then I'll tell you. It should have ended there. It didn't. Jun kept showing up with the regularity of bad weather. The world around Liam shifted. Security details on his commute, reinforced windows at the bakery, deliveries checked and rechecked. Mr. Joe raged about it all, but didn't fight the changes. And every single day, Jun appeared, sometimes 5 minutes, sometimes longer, always with an excuse, never just because. Liam told himself he found Jun's presence irritating, and that was true, but it was also true that, conscious or not, he started to spot details. Jun never raised his voice. Even angry, he spoke so softly other people had to lean in to listen. He drank his tea unsweetened. He only ate food his father or Liam gave him, and that felt a lot more like caution than taste. He wore only black charcoal, dark navy, never a color loud enough to draw unnecessary attention. No jewelry except a watch and a simple ring that looked more permanent than decorative. Hidden scars, a rough line under his left jaw, another scarring the knuckle of one finger. He knew all his men's names. He watched Liam more than anyone else. And whatever this thing was, the scent, the pull, it got worse. Not in a way you could point to, but in a subtler, sharper way. Jun's control was ironclad, but the minute they brushed past each other in the kitchen, or both reached for the same order, or stood too close in that shoebox office. It was there, an energy thick and persistent, humming just under the surface. Nobody else seemed to notice, which almost made it more unreal. Liam hated it. The lack of control, the betrayal by his own biology, the weird cosmic joke his life had become. Naturally, Priya was all in. You got bodyguards and a mobster soulmate? This is the dumbest romance novel premise ever, she texted. It's not a romance, he shot back. Sure, and I roast marshmallows for a living. He didn't tell his mom. God, no. He started to a few times, but she'd either show up with pepper spray and a lecture, or just drag him back to her place. And neither option sounded remotely useful, so he kept it to himself. That worked, right up until the night Meringue went missing. He shouldn't have cared as much as he did. The cat wasn't his. The cat had never even liked him except at dinner time, and usually acted like the food was an insult. But when he walked into the alley after work, treat bag in his pocket, he found trash overturned, a dark streak smeared on the old brick, and one white tuft of fur caught on a splintered crate. His stomach sank. He searched everywhere, calling out like an idiot. He checked every fence, under cars, behind dumpsters. Nothing. By the time Jun's driver found him, barely 2 blocks from home, Liam was cold, frantic, and shaking. Of course, Jun was there, waiting in the back seat. When the window rolled down, Jun took one look and got out without a word. What happened? Nothing. Liam tried, voice weak, tired. Jun wasn't buying it. Pretty clear it's something. It's a cat. The words sounded stupid even as they came out. Jun lifted a brow. A cat? There's a stray. White, grumpy, clipped ear. He's always here, but he's gone, and there's... He stopped, voice cracking, furious with himself for caring so much. It's really stupid. Jun didn't blink, didn't question it. Instead, he called for reinforcements. 4 men with flashlights started searching alleys, and Liam just stood there, numb with gratitude and embarrassment. What's he look like? Jun asked. White, torn ear, mean. Jun nodded and relayed the description. They found Meringue 40 minutes later, hunkered under some chain link, bloody but alive and ferocious as ever. Liam scooped him up, ignoring claws and curses alike, and pressed the shivering cat against his chest under his coat. Jun watched him with a look Liam had never seen before, something sharp, intent, close to vulnerable. Thank you, Liam said, grudging but honest. Jun glanced at the white head sticking out from under Liam's chin. You looked heartbroken. It's a cat. That's not an answer. Clutching Meringue, Liam said quietly. You don't know me well enough to draw conclusions like that. Maybe not, Jun said, but I'd like to. And that was the thing. Everything tipped, right then. It all changed, inch by inch, not in grand gestures, but in moments small enough to deny, until they added up to something you couldn't ignore. Disaster struck again, just 3 days later. Liam was locking up with Mr. Joe, talking softly about receipts and leftover bread, when, bam, everything went black. The bakery's hum just stopped. Lights out, ovens dead, fridges silent as a crypt. At first, it was just an inconvenience. You sigh, tap your phone flashlight. Annoying, but whatever. Then, chirp. The back door alarm tried to warn them and died halfway. Mr. Joe swore, sharp and heartfelt. Right then, Liam's phone buzzed. One of those vibrations you feel in your teeth. Unknown number. Message. You should have stayed out of family business, Omega. He went cold, truly cold, right down to the spine. Mr. Joe. And that's when the back door exploded, not opened, exploded. 3 figures surged in, masks, guns, moving way too fast for ordinary fear. Liam yanked Mr. Joe down behind the prep table. The first shot rang through metal, shattered glass up front. Trays screamed across tile. One of the attackers vaulted the counter without even slowing. Another looped left, the third barreled straight for them. Down! Liam shouted, but Mr. Joe, stubborn even under gunfire, fumbled for a knife. Liam's hand landed on a flour bag. He threw it. The bag detonated in a white cloud, blinding the gunman. That wild shot punched holes in the metal behind them. Liam ducked, grabbed the heavy mixer hook, and slammed it into the guy's wrist. The gun skittered away. A hand grabbed him, yanking hard. Liam twisted, fighting, but the guy was stronger. Sweat, fabric tearing, adrenaline electric and nasty in his mouth. A gunshot snapped from the doorway. Sharp, close. The grip on Liam loosened, his attacker dropped. Chaos flooded in. Jun's men, black suits, all brutal confidence. Jun himself, gun in one hand, murder written on his face. Liam had seen Jun angry before, but not like this. This was old, dangerous anger, something feral. Jun's eyes found Liam, tracked blood at his neck where the hoodie tore, and went ink black with rage. One gunman raised his weapon at Mr. Joe. Jun didn't hesitate, shot the man in the leg, crossed the floor in 3 strides, and put him down hard. His gun hit the tile. His hands closed on the man's throat. Methodical, terrifying. Jun would kill him. Liam saw it, so clear it hurt. "Jun?" he shouted. Nothing. One of Jun's men started forward, but another held him back, tense, silent. Mr. Joe shouted in Mandarin, furious and afraid. The attacker struggled, face purple, lungs desperate. Jun didn't hear anything. Not really. He wasn't there anymore. Liam didn't even think. Later, people would say he was reckless, stupid, maybe a little mad, and they'd be right. But he'd seen that empty predator look in other alphas, never this deep, this final. He pushed through the mess, dropped to his knees, and grabbed Jun's face, forcing him to look. "Jun!" The eyes staring back weren't human. For a heartbeat, Liam thought, "This is it. This is how I die." Then Jun inhaled. It was like the room cracked, mate scent hitting him like a thunderclap. Jun made a sound, raw and broken, almost animal. Yanked back from the edge by force. "Let him go," Liam said. Jun stared, lost, teetering. "Please," Liam whispered. That worked. Jun released the man, hands opening with a tremble. Instantly, Jun's men hauled the would-be killer away and pinned him. Jun stayed on the floor, shoulders heaving, eyes fixed on Liam like he was the last real thing in a burning city. Blood trickled from Liam's neck, warm and unnervingly real. Jun reached for it, hesitated, trembling, then clenched his fist and backed away. Not out, just far enough, out of scent range, out of arm's reach, shaking with the effort it took. Mr. Joe slumped onto an overturned milk crate and scowled at the devastation. "Well?" he muttered into the mess. "This is all becoming very annoying." "That did it." Liam laughed helplessly until he shook. Police came, of course, but there were fewer questions than expected. Jun's reach at work, quietly sweeping up. Repairs had to be planned, statements crafted, security tripled. But really, reality had shifted. Someone had texted Liam, called him out by name, targeted the bakery during closing. This time, he wasn't just caught in the crossfire. He was the target. That night, Jun kept his distance. Looked like he'd been carved from rock, voice cold and flat. He coordinated everything from across the room, never letting himself get close. When Liam insisted on staying until Mr. Joe was safe, Jun didn't argue. He just watched, silent, sentinel-like, not trusting himself with less space. Eventually, after midnight, Mr. Joe was driven home, still annoyed. The bakery, bruised and battered, finally fell quiet. Liam found Jun outside in the alley, standing under the naked glare of the security light. No coat, just blood on his cuff, breathing smoke into the cold. "You'll freeze out here," Liam said. Jun barely glanced at him, voice harsh. "Go inside." "No?" That won the barest ghost of a laugh. Jun finally met his eyes. The icy control was back, but you could see the cracks. "I almost killed a man in front of you," he said. "Yeah. You asked me not to. I nearly didn't stop for you." "But you did." Eventually, Liam stepped close enough to share the chill, but not enough for comfort. The alley was all rain and brick and spent adrenaline. "You pulled back," he said, "because you put your hands on me." Liam studied his face. Would that have worked for anyone else? Jun held his gaze, steady. No. A simple, brutal truth. Jun looked away first, grounding himself. "I should send you away," he said. "Somewhere safe. Upstate, another country, give you distance from all of this. Liam folded his arms. I'm not getting exiled because criminals can't stand a croissant. Jun almost smiled, then rubbed his palm over tired eyes. I don't know how to do this right, he admitted. Liam braced against the wall, familiar brick at his back. This? He prompted. Jun's hand flicked between them, unable to settle. You, the instincts, the danger. I know how to fix problems, not... His voice strained. Not this. Liam let silence settle. Good, he said finally. Jun blinked, uncertain. I don't want smooth talking or a perfect strategy. I don't need you to play alpha. I need you to just be here. Just be real with me. Jun stared like he couldn't quite believe it. That's easy for you, Jun said, voice almost small. You're good at being human. Liam snorted raw. Jun, I'm barely holding together. No, Jun said. You kept your heart when other people tried to tear it out. That's real discipline. The alley, his heart, everything went too quiet. No one had spoken to him that way, not with flattery, but with honest, unvarnished truth. He couldn't answer, didn't want to, hated that Jun could see him so clearly. So he said, come upstairs, sharp and sudden. Jun hesitated. What? Liam insisted, you look like you're about 2 minutes from collapsing or declaring war. I've got tea, antiseptic, and leftover honey cake. Pick your poison. Something in Jun's face softened, surprise flickering into something like hope. Those are not equivalent offers, he managed. They are in my apartment, Liam said, and led the way up. In the kitchen, under warm yellow light, Liam cleaned Jun's bleeding hands. It was slow, careful work, the kind of intimacy you don't plan, just practical. Bowl of warm water, tiny bottle of disinfectant, clean gauze. Jun watched him, but not the wound. You should have stitches, Liam muttered over one deep gash. I'll live. That's not how wound care works. I'm noticing you have stubborn opinions. Yes. Jun's eyes never left his face. I like them. There it was again. No games, no pretense, just truth, as steady as the table. Liam finished, a little too briskly. You're ridiculous. Yes. Stop agreeing so easily. No. Liam couldn't help a laugh. Didn't want to, but couldn't stop. He turned his back to make tea, a breather, a moment to slow his racing heart. When he looked up, Jun wasn't searching for exits, not plotting, just looking. At the shelves, books, yarn, little painted game miniatures, Meringue the cat curled up in the corner, which was itself a small miracle. Jun had been accepted with the silent warning not to pet. You built this place for yourself, Jun said quietly. Not really a question. Liam nodded. Yes? Did you expect to stay alone? Liam set down the mugs a little hard. Bit of a personal question. Jun didn't apologize. Will you answer? Liam thought about lying, but didn't bother. Yeah, it was easier. Less to lose. Is it still easier now? Jun's voice was careful, gentle. Liam looked through the steam at him. Now? There's a Mafia alpha bleeding on my table, and my cat has declared a truce. I don't really know anymore. That's not an answer. Liam smiled, just a little. No, he said softly. It isn't. A week later, everything started coming apart. Jun just vanished. Or, well, not fully vanished. Liam wouldn't be that dramatic. Not yet. But he stopped showing up at the bakery. Calls went straight to voicemail. His men still lingered around the place, polite as ever, but Liam could feel the tension strung tight across their shoulders. Mr. Joe kept kneading dough like nothing happened. That told Liam more than any words. On the second day, Liam finally asked, not knowing what answer he hoped for. He's handling a problem, Mr. Joe said, slamming dough against the counter like it owed him money. Liam rolled his eyes. By not sleeping, probably. Yes. Can I know what kind of problem? Mr. Joe shot him a look, a mixture of annoyance and maybe worry. One involving loyalty and stupidity. Super helpful, Liam bit out. Mr. Joe's mouth twitched. He is trying to end this before it reaches you again. That was supposed to be comforting, right? It wasn't. By evening, Liam was seething, not because Jun's life had danger stapled to it. He'd already made peace with that. No, he was angry because Jun had decided, completely unilaterally, that the best way to protect Liam was to just cut him out, like everyone else ever had. Sit still, stay safe, let someone else do the hard thing. Absolutely not. At midnight, Liam texted Jun's head of security, demanded an address, and either sounded mad enough or desperate enough to get it. The warehouse in Red Hook fit every cliché of a place where powerful men resolve disputes. Liam barely waited for the car to park before pushing past 2 guards, both clearly thrown by his arrival, and storming into a room where Jun and 6 other men were deep in an argument. Papers everywhere. The weight in the room felt deadly. The second Liam walked in, the room fell silent. Jun went pale with rage. "Everyone out!" Not one person argued. They disappeared instantly, the kind of obedience that tells you exactly who's in charge. Liam didn't flinch. He folded his arms. "You ignored my messages." Jun stalked over, dangerous and tired. "You shouldn't be here." "And yet?" Liam deadpanned. Jun snapped. "Do you have any idea what this place is?" "Yes, it's where you decided I was too fragile to even be near you." "That's not—" Jun stopped himself, jaw working. "Explain it then," Liam shot back. For a heartbeat, Jun looked like he was about to break something, or maybe break himself. Instead, he braced his hands against the table, stared at the wall, and said, voice scraping, "The man who attacked at the bakery. He answered to one of my captains, my people, someone who could only have known those details because I trusted him. I am cleaning out the rot." Liam's anger slipped. The enormity of what Jun faced settled in his gut. "Oh." Jun let out an empty laugh. "Yes. Oh." Liam swallowed. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because every hour I spent talking to you was an hour I wanted back," Jun said, finally looking at Liam. "And I couldn't afford to want that when I had to decide who would betray me next." That hit deeper than Liam expected. Jun circled the table. Movements heavy now, not furious, but worn out. "I wasn't excluding you because I thought you weak. I was excluding you because, when this is over, I need there to be one place still untouched by all of this." Liam's chest went tight. "That's not fair." "I know. You don't get to make me your safe place without asking." Jun actually flinched, then dropped his head. "You're right." All the anger drained away, replaced by something soft, aching, exhausting. Liam took in the office, the chaos on the desk, the hint of weapons on the side table, the silent men moving outside, all orbiting around Jun like planets around a reluctant sun. "Are you done here?" "Almost." "And after?" Jun's eyes locked on his, steady. "After, I come back if you let me." Liam hesitated only a second, then closed the distance, grabbed Jun's shirt, and kissed him. No plan, no warning, just need. He'd call it a terrible idea later, but right now he didn't care. For a beat, Jun was stone still, as if he'd miscalculated the entire universe. Then he made a sound Liam would remember for the rest of his life, and the rest was heat, hands, hunger, weeks and weeks of wanting. When they finally parted, dizzy and half-wrecked, Jun pressed his forehead to Liam's and whispered, "You shouldn't have done that here." "Probably not," Liam muttered, almost smiling. This time Jun laughed, a real startled thing. The barest softness flickered across his face, and damn it, if Liam didn't almost fall in love right there. "Finish your war," Liam said, not quite trusting his voice. Jun's grip tightened, more anchor than command. "It isn't a war." "Sure," Liam said, but he softened at the kiss to his forehead. Jun straightened, businesslike almost, and told him to go home, which Liam whined about but ultimately obeyed, escorted right to the door. 3 days later, it was over. Out in the world, nothing much seemed to change. A whiff of financial investigation, an unexplainable warehouse fire, and a handful of disappearing men no one talked about in polite company. But in the real story, Jun showed up at Liam's apartment at 2 in the morning, looking frayed and 3 days past his last good night's sleep. Liam opened the door without question. "How many laws did you break?" Jun leaned on the door frame, exhausted and honest. "Too many." That's the least shocking thing you've ever said. I'm finished, June admitted, eyes scanning but never really settling. You hurt? Liam asked, already looking for wounds. No. Liar. And yes, there was a tear in Jun's shirt, a graze blooming ugly across his ribs. Liam didn't ask more. He pulled him inside, fetched the first aid kit, patched the wound with hands steadier than he'd expected. Jun just watched him, and it felt like being seen, really seen, for the first time. When Liam finished, Jun caught his wrist, gentle, a plea. Stay. Liam replied, You make it sound like I was the one leaving. Jun just brushed his thumb along Liam's pulse. You were, before. Liam almost retreated, but instead, old instincts meeting new certainty, he dug in. He remembered Jun in all these places, in the kitchen, the alley, the bakery, always there, always returning, always choosing him over chaos. Not tonight. The sound Jun made wasn't quite a breath or a sob, just relief, pure and simple. The rest worked itself out. They ended up sharing a bed, not because it was sexy or planned, but because it was the only place for two people so bone-tired, so raw. And that first night, honestly, they just slept. Nothing else. Liam curled up against Jun, and Jun, big and careful as ever, wrapped himself around him like he couldn't quite believe Liam was real. The wild ache faded, just a pulse, solid and calm. Liam slept better than he had in months. When morning crept in, pale and gold, Jun was awake and watching him. That's creepy, Liam mumbled. You were drooling. Liar. Liam kissed him to make him stop talking. This time it was slow, a little sleepy, a little sweet. Jun tasted like tea in morning, with a trace of the suppressants he must have remembered to take in the heat of everything else. Liam ran his thumb along a scar, felt Jun shiver. You're pretty responsive for a scary man. Jun's lips brushed Liam's wrist. You spoil my composure. Liam huffed a laugh, and then Jun turned serious, rolling on top, asking for permission with his eyes and Liam answering without words. What followed? Well, it wasn't gentle. Who needs gentle when you've survived all that? It wasn't clean either. Too much regret, relief, and 1,000 things they hadn't named yet. Jun held him with a hunger that bordered on reverence, always looking for consent, always giving Liam a choice, never assuming anything. At the moment when Jun's mouth brushed the gland at his throat, Liam trembled and said his name, and Jun, ever careful, paused. Tell me. Always the choice, even now. Liam pulled him close and said, quiet, certain, I'm not saying yes because of biology or fate. I'm saying yes because it's you. The look on Jun's face was everything, open, ruined, fiercely attentive. He kissed Liam like a vow. Later, wrapped in sweaty sheets, heart slowed to a normal pace, Liam finally let the question that plagued him roll off his tongue. So? The mate thing? Jun went still, fingers in Liam's hair. The bond only happens if both people choose. And if they don't? Then no bond, just what we already have. Liam registered that. Do you want it? Jun hesitated long enough for Liam to get nervous, but then, voice rough, he said, I want everything from you, your mornings, your trust, the right to stand between you and anything. I want to be chosen. I do not want you to resent it. Liam stared, heart tripping in his chest. He reached up, took Jun's face, kissed him soft as a promise. You idiot, he whispered. Jun blinked, slow. Is that your term of endearment? It is, now. Liam pressed their foreheads together. I'm not ready today, not for forever, not for biology or whatever else fate says we should do, but I might want a chance to get there. Jun closed his eyes briefly, just breathing. When he opened them, they were softer, deeper. A chance. Yeah, a chance. Jun nodded, solemn, almost formal. Then I'll earn it. Liam grinned, helpless. You really don't know how to do anything halfway, do you? No. Good, me neither. The seasons turned. Spring showed up late, dragging green shoots behind it. The bakery survived, reopening with new windows and stronger locks. Jun bought a new display case, caving with only mild protest when Liam threatened to invoice him for emotional damages to pastry presentation. Mr. Joe retired, except he still showed up every morning and poked through receipts. Liam found himself steering the ship. Everyone saw it before he did. Priya met June, then pulled Liam aside and said he had the vibe of a guy who could make people disappear, but says please first. Honestly, hard to argue with. Eventually, Liam told his mother everything. She just looked at Jun, who attended dinner as if volunteering for execution, and said, "If you hurt my son, I know where hospitals hide the needles." Jun inclined his head and said, "Understood." She adored him a week later. Meringue, the cat, claimed the condo, the armchair, and Jun's suits. Jun pretended to mind. The cat only ever slept on his stuff. Liam's life grew bigger, almost without his noticing, not because Jun wrapped himself around it like a conqueror, but because Jun stood beside it, waited for an invitation, always making space but never invading. Maybe, in the end, that changed everything. The bond, when it finally happened, wasn't a dramatic scene. No storms, no emergencies, no being driven together by wild instinct. It came quietly, on a Sunday morning a year after the chaos. Bakery closed, rain shooshing against the windows, the apartment full of cardamom and peace. Liam sat on the counter in a shirt that didn't belong to him. Jun stood between his knees, a hand on his hip. By then, they'd built something, sharing space, sharing keys, building silences that didn't need filling, just warm and easy. Even now, Jun always asked, at thresholds that mattered. Liam still tested him, just to see if he'd keep asking. That morning, Liam touched Jun's throat. "I'm ready." Jun froze like Liam held something weighty and volatile. "You're sure?" he said, voice so earnest it almost hurt. "Yeah, you can stop looking like I'm handing you a live grenade." Jun exhaled, then huffed a laugh. "I'm considering the metaphor." Liam climbed off the counter, took Jun's hand and squeezed. "It's not fate deciding, it's me." Jun's eyes closed, lids fluttering, before he looked at Liam with sharp, unbearable hope. "Then it's me, too." The bond, well, pain isn't the word. It was pressure, heat, the dissolution of walls Liam didn't know he had. Jun held him the whole way through, hand at the back of his neck, steady voice, scent like comfort. And when Liam finally bit into the spot where instinct, desire, permission met, Jun shook so hard they nearly ended up on the kitchen floor, laughing and crying together. When Jun marked Liam in return, it was like a door opening, not trapping but inviting, not ownership but recognition, not a cage. Home. They slumped against the cabinets, half-dressed, rain blurring the view, holding each other like breathing was the only requirement. Jun touched the mark at Liam's throat, reverent and almost shy. Liam traced the new scar on Jun's shoulder and laughed, breathless. "What?" Jun asked. "You waited a year for this." Jun kissed his temple. "I would have waited forever." Liam leaned back. For the longest time, he thought love came wrapped in orders, wrapped in humiliation and demand, in being told to shrink, soften, be less. But this was different. It was patient, deliberate choice. Every day, an alpha frightening enough to hush people on sight, cross-legged on a kitchen floor, holding him with reverence. Liam smiled, quiet, still himself, still a baker, still sharp around the edges, still fighting old fears, but with a home that was his, a cat with an attitude, a mother who loved him, a friend who sent wild midnight memes, and someone beside him who defied fate and chosen him again and again. That made every shattered routine worth it. As if hearing the thought, Jun hugged him closer. "What?" Liam asked, laughter just below the surface. Jun pressed a kiss to the bond at his throat. "Nothing." "Liar," Liam said, rolling his eyes. Jun just smiled against his skin. "Yes." And this time, when Liam's laugh filled the kitchen, it didn't echo back emptily. It stayed, warm and